Before we begin the show, I'm so tired. We want to do a quick disclaimer and talk about the situation in Palestine right now. I don't know if you've heard, but right now, four Palestinian families are about to lose their home because settlers have just moved in. It's a horrifying situation that these people are in. If you're wondering what you can do, please raise awareness more than anything, because especially to American viewers, if you're able, please write to your congressman or woman about this situation and that you do not want money for the Israel Relief Fund, which in turn is one of the reasons why this can continue on happening. It's been happening since the 40s, and this is still going on today. This is one of the reasons I, a Palestinian man, live in Denmark and not in Palestine. And hopefully in the future, we will see some change. So please Google Sheikh Jarrah. That's SheikHJarrah, or just Palestine in general, and you'll see how the situation is going on now. But for now, let's get back to our pop culture bullshit. Hugo, take it away.
Well, there we go. So, yeah, important to put that out there before we get into the show. But there's no easy transition. So, welcome to the I'm So Tired podcast, where usually we are so incredibly tired, but this week we're going to wake the fuck up because we have a city to burn.
Hell yeah.
So this week, this week we're talking about Cyberpunk. I beat Cyberpunk in 2 weeks. I thought it was going to take me much longer, but I got really obsessed with the game. So we're just going to do a full-on deep dive spoiler cast thing.
So this was Inshallah
So
1.2, which turned into the Night City report, and now it's just a
yes,
review.
I just beat the game. I guess I got through it much quicker than I thought. So before we get into all that, Islam, you've been playing a bit of Resident Evil 8. So I wanted to ask you, what are your impressions so far? What you've
As
played?
soon as you said Resident Evil 8, the hairs on my neck just stood up. That game was way scarier than I thought it was gonna be, because looking at the trailer, I was like, oh, it's a tall, sexy vampire lady chasing me around. It's not just that. That game is legitimately terrifying. I'm not good with horror. I beat Resident Evil 7.
Right,
But
which
yeah,
is pretty scary.
which is pretty scary, and this is the same vein as that. It is as scary as 7 in many points, not all
Mhm.
points. I would say the castle is less scary. um, but yeah, I've been seeing a lot of impressions online. Specifically, people keep talking about this one moment in the game, and I don't know what this one moment is, but apparently it's so freaking scary that a lot of people, they said they just noped out of the game at that point. They were like,
Oh
nope, I can't
shit!
do this anymore. So I'm legitimately dreading that moment, whatever that is. I have no idea. That being said, it's basically more Resident Evil 7, but it's in a village. So the gameplay
Mm,
is the same, where you basically you this character Ethan Winters. You're looking for your daughter. It's not a dad game, all games are
yeah.
dad games nowadays. Uh, and yeah, you're just
Last game
looking.
you were looking for your wife. This game you're looking for your daughter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the wife gets killed in the first 5 minutes. This isn't even a spoiler.
What?
It's in the trailer. It's not a spoiler. It's the first thing you
Like
see in the
the
trailer.
whole last game was about saving this woman, and
Yeah,
then she just dies at the beginning.
yeah, and it's
Your
Chris
aim
Redfield that
tree.
kills her, which is wow, what is going on?
What?
Why is Chris and Ethan, who is so the main character in Resident Evil 7 and Village, he has almost no emotion. So he's like, Chris, why? Please have a more visceral reaction.
And it's so funny
Uh,
that he's just a guy. There's
it's just
no, like, he's just a
well,
dude.
there is some exposition this time around that he has had a military training this time around,
Oh, okay.
because Chris has been training him. Which I'm like, okay, then why did Chris kill
Did he
his
kill his wife?
wife
Yeah.
then? Yeah, but yeah,
Well,
what
you'll
a
find
game!
out.
Yeah, why did he? And yeah, you have to go look for your daughter, go for this village, and you've seen the trailers. Big lady chases you. Her daughters turn to flies and shit. It's grotesque, and it's very there's a lot of disgusting scenes in that game where I'm like,
Mm,
ooh, this isn't nice. But I'm having fun playing it though, because I really
right.
like the exploration part of Resident Evil games. I really like looking around, scrounging for weapons, ammunition, and Like checking off the maps, especially, is so satisfying when you see like, oh,
Mm.
this part is blue. I found every single item in this part of the castle or the village or whatever. And I'm very much looking forward to going back into it. It's one of those games where I promised myself I will only play it on stream, mostly because I'm scared shitless of playing it alone. And it's funnier when you have people with you that are like cheering you
Yeah.
on. So I will be playing it maybe after we've recorded I'm So Tired. Uh,
Mm.
Even though we have Jackson did request that we react to Elon Musk and SNL, so we can do that, and then maybe I'll
I guess
play
we can do
some.
that as well.
And I might play it tomorrow because Willie, our good friend Willie, who was the guest last week, he
Hmm.
actually also started. He's gonna start streaming first and foremost, which is great.
Oh, cool.
So his oh god, what was his Twitch name? Willie Art M, I believe. Willie Art M, right? Is that what he?
RDM. Willy RDM. Yeah, I think so.
Willie RDM. Yeah, Willie RDM.
Yeah. Him.
No, it's yeah, Willie RDM. Sorry. Follow him on Twitch. He's gonna start streaming from Monday, the 10th of May, I believe, where he's gonna do his first Resident Evil stream. And he's like, I don't think he's even played two, and I know like remake, and I know he wanted to play, but he was too scared.
Mm.
Scared.
Oh, okay. And this looks a lot scarier.
Yeah, it's Willie ARDM. Sorry, it's Willie ARDM.
ARDM.
Yes.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, this is scary. I don't know why he went like in with. I would say start with two remake because two remake is scary, but it's more like tension
I mean,
scary, like
yeah.
stressful.
But also,
And
it's so silly that
yeah.
it's not
Oh, this
really
is
as
silly as
scary.
well though. Like there are many
Yeah,
points
no,
where I'm
yeah.
like, yeah. Because like then at one point some dude from fucking Bloodborne shows up with a hammer. It's like, is this Father Gascoigne? What is going on
Yeah,
here?
that guy looks like Father Gascoigne. I saw him in a trailer.
Yeah.
He just looks like Father
Yeah.
Gascoigne.
Yeah. And he's like, oh look, I have like fucking weird abilities and shit. And like, what is going? It's very silly still. That's the thing. That I still enjoy. It has that Resident Evil silliness. It's not taking itself too seriously, which is what Resident Evil is to be. I would say so far, like about 2 hours in, and the game is about 10
Mm.
to 12 hours. Based on the reviews and what I've read online, this game takes some crazy turns. Like calling it Village apparently is a bit of a, oh, is it even that?
Misdirection.
Misdirection. Apparently, it's way crazier than that. I believe like the last trailers, which they had like some shots of. Yeah, I don't want to get into in case people missed that trailer because I
Mhm.
kind of wanted this surprise, but there were like shots where I was like, huh, this is gonna be an
Mm.
extremely weird game, huh? um,
Yeah.
Pretty as fuck though. And also I think I really because like when I was streaming it, I sometimes got some frame rate drops, and
Mm.
apparently it's because I'm so you know this like thing I do. So if you're a video listener, you know that my background usually like blurred. Apparently that takes like some GPU power, and because I'm streaming using the GPU for that as well, my GPU couldn't like keep up with all the rest of the bells and whistles. Because when I'm playing, it's so fucking optimized this game. Because when I'm playing on the PC on my own, I'm playing with ray tracing on in 2K, and I'm getting like 90 FPS per second, 100
Oh, wow.
FPS. But it jumps like
Yeah.
from 90 to 120 FPS. That's 2K with ray tracing, so it's super optimized. And apparently, like the
I
recommended,
mean, that engine is just
exactly that
the
was my
best.
point. Because apparently, you don't even need like a beefy PC to like. I believe your laptop can run Village actually,
Oh, wow.
but you should play it on the PS5 obviously if you wanted to
Yeah, I
play
would
it.
play on the PS5 if
But
I,
my
yeah.
point is like you could if you wanted to. But yeah, that engine, like, look at the latest Monster Hunter dude on like Monster Hunter Rise. That's
On
running on
Switch,
the
yeah.
yeah, that's running on the RE engine on Switch, a lock 30. People say like it's running perfectly for the Switch as well. That engine, I don't understand those wizards over at Capcom what they've done,
Yeah,
but
and
it's insane.
like, and we've talked about this before, talking about Devil May Cry 5,
Yeah,
but for wildly different games as well. Like, they make totally different. One is first person, one is third person, one is a very slow
yeah,
game, one is another super high speed action game. Then there's Monster Hunter. They're doing different things with this same engine, and for
yeah,
some reason it works with everything.
and yeah, and honestly, what a company Capcom has been lately, because I feel
Oh
like
yeah, the
every
last 4 years they've been amazing.
yeah, because when was oh, like 2017 is when
Yeah,
yeah
2017 was Resident Evil 7, I believe. I think from
yeah
then on
uh,
out they've
yeah
just
from
been
Resident Evil 7.
releasing.
Yeah, because
amazing
people
game.
did not like Resident Evil 6. I think
Yeah.
some has come around to it because they're playing it for what it is, kind of like how we watch the Star Wars prequels today. Because let's be honest, they're not
Mhm.
good movies, but we have so much fun watching them. And I think a lot
Yeah.
of people are playing Resident Evil 6 that way now, that they're playing it with oh, this is actually kind of funny more than anything.
Mhm.
And for me
Yeah,
at
but at the
least, yeah,
time,
yeah, at the time.
so fair.
Yeah,
No, but at
yeah,
the time, I
yeah,
mean, it wasn't well received, obviously, because of
yeah.
what it was. It was kind of a dumb action movie, while the other ones were going for more tension, even though they were extremely silly, as we said.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I guess that's it for our for Islam's
I'm
Resident Evil Village
still
impressions.
I'm still very early into the game, so
Yeah.
that's why I don't have like much to say yet, other than I feel like again vibe is very scary.
Mm.
It graphically it's very pretty, and so far the story is like get your daughter. That's the story.
Yeah,
Like, so I'm very
kind of
interested
leaves
to
you alone.
yeah, I'm very interested to see like how it ties into the whole Resident Evil mythos because all these games are connected. And
Hmm.
the thing about Resident Evil is there's no like supernatural element, or there is like supernatural elements, but I mean, it's always rooted in science in there. It's always like, oh, there was this virus, or this guy did this thing.
Yeah, and this
I
one
mean,
has vampires and werewolves and
yeah, and it's like, okay, I can't wait to see what fucking virus got to these people and why they turn out the way they are. But yeah, because I feel like it's gonna continue doing that.
Mhm.
There's gonna be an explanation for all this, and I'm so excited to see what crazy ass explanation they're gonna come up with for this one. Because Resident Evil stories are stupid, but that's what I like about it. Like they're not serious
Mhm.
at all. They're very silly.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Um, but now for our main topic, we're gonna go full on with Cyberpunk 2077, the game that only me and Islam like.
Hell yeah! Welcome to the future, Hugo. It's time to talk about
Uh,
Cyberpunk.
okay. Um, before we start, like actually getting into the game, I think it's we should start by just discussing a little bit how the game launched. Obviously, I played it now, so I waited uh, 5 months before I actually played it. I waited for patch 1.2, as was the joke. And they
Yeah,
also, after 1.2, they also released 1.21 and 1.22, which were also like 25 gigabytes
yeah,
each.
they were
So,
insanely big patches.
yeah. So it tells you how the game actually launched, especially on console. And you played it on a pretty beefy computer.
Yeah,
So obviously, our experience with the game was much different than the average person who bought the game on, Xbox One or PS4 uh, when you still could, and got a pretty terrible experience of the game. So we want to acknowledge the state in which the game launched and say that it's pretty terrible. From my point of view, it's very much a situation where the gaming industry as a whole is just a broken industry,
yeah,
led by shareholders who do not understand anything about video games or the industry they're working in, and with a lot of management in big studios that get gigantic bonuses for overworking their staff into oblivion and releasing broken, unfinished games. I do believe that the game, despite that, is really great. I love this game, but if it was delayed for a year, it could be one of my favorite games. Like very clearly, this game isn't finished. Even now that on PS5 where I played it, it runs well. It like very clearly there are moments where I'm like, oh, this is completely broken. It's not a finished product.
yeah.
Um, but again, I just want to acknowledge what is great about the game. I think most of the podcast is going to be about what we like because we both liked it a lot. Uh, but yeah, the management at CDPR sucks. The devs are fantastic, and I hope they didn't get too much harassment for this because it's not their fault. Obviously, they had to launch this game in the state that it was because they were forced to, essentially. Um, yeah, and I don't know. I don't know how you feel about this. And just to add on top of that, I just want to ask you if you think this game and the huge backlash that the release got will kind of serve as a cautionary tale going forward
It
in the
very
gaming
much
industry.
serves as that, because especially if you look at the like, let me give you an example of like the PR on this game and how insane it was. Because when
Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption 2 released, for some reason, CDPR, they were like, okay, we're gonna issue a statement, and their statement was that their game is gonna be at least as polished uh,
Yeah.
as Red Dead Redemption, if not even more polished.
Yeah.
It's not
Which is
even
just
like I make fun of Red Dead a lot. It's one of those games I like to make fun of. I will never
yeah.
sit here and say that game is up. If anything, it's too polished. Like, give me some
Yeah, the
bugs I
game
can make
is
fun of.
polished to perfection, pretty
Polished
much.
to
Like,
perfection. And for some reason, they went out and said, "Oh, yeah, well, our game is gonna be even more polished than Red Dead." It's like, why?
shut
The
up.
t-
Why are you doing
the
this? Yeah.
team is small also I think a lot of people forget this isn't like it's still like it's a triple A team, yeah, but it's not like up until recently this was like an indie developer. Like CD Projekt
Hmm.
was an indie up until recently with like the release of Witcher 2 and then later Witcher 3, where they actually got
Yeah.
like their big team. This game for me
And
is
like
like
technically they still are.
technically they
It's
are
not
an
like there
independent
isn't
studio.
a
Technically.
giant corporation behind them publishing their
They're the
games.
giant
It's
corporation.
yeah, they're the giant corporation now, but they I think the issue is they grew too fast and management just got in over their heads and
Management
made
got
terrible decisions.
way over it. They made like as you say, terrible decisions from like a PR standpoint, terrible decisions of what they chose to show of the game. Because
Yeah.
like the E3 demo, everybody knows the
Hmm.
E3 demo. Like that demo is a freaking go watch it again. It's still amazing. In the year
Oh
of
yeah.
our Lord 2021, it still looks dope. And that part is still in the game, but it just looks better.
Hmm.
And for me, like it's so crazy because the whole idea behind like CDPR was, oh, we're there for the gamers, and I feel like that's the thing. Like they kept talking about how, oh, we're that company that at one point, what was it? This we leave greed to others. We're not gonna
Yeah,
have
this was
microtransactions,
after the Battlefront 2 backlash.
and it's
They
just
were like, "Oh,
so
we leave."
yeah.
Shut up!
Like
Just
shut
do a
up!
good
What the?
game.
Yeah, just make a good game. And I feel like a lot, including myself, kind of got wrapped up in this because like they were the only
Mhm.
company that because if you look at what they did for Witcher 3, they got so much goodwill after that game because they were
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh, here's a bunch of free DLC. There's a
yeah.
bunch of updates, content updates. They went and kept changing the game even.
Hmm.
Playing like an original Witcher 3 and playing like even the menu is different from how it was when it released to how it is now. They even changed the menu. That's how much like care to put. Like it was
Yeah.
almost a game as a service, but single player. Uh,
But at the same time, I think we forget sometimes because of the how Witcher 3 is received and has been received and how it's remembered, that the game launched in a relatively unstable state, especially on console.
but not
Like
as bad as this though.
it was not
And I feel
nearly as
like
bad.
that's
But
the
like
big difference. Not as
yeah,
bad as this. And I feel like we got so used to polish now because a lot of more like studios start to like care. Because think
yeah,
about like when Witcher 3 released, what other big game was Bloodborne
yeah.
on that generation of consoles? Like there were no like really big game, and when they were like what
I mean,
Dragon Age
20,
Inquisition.
2015, to be fair, was also the year of Metal Gear Solid 5, which is one of the most polished games you'll ever
Fair,
play.
that's true.
But that's just Kojima. All his games
Yeah,
are like super rock solid, 60 FPS, amazing graphics, whatever. But
yeah,
it's an exception. Like it
yeah.
certainly it's the same year as Fallout
But
4. Fallout 4 wasn't polished at all. So it's like
yeah, so I guess like people were like kind of used to the fact that oh, if you're
mm,
gonna play an open world game, this is part of the course, you know.
yeah, there's gonna
At
be
this,
some
but
bugs
then
and some polish
at the
problems.
same time, like one thing I was wondering like why CDPR didn't put up a season pass with Cyberpunk because I was willing, like legitimately, I was willing to buy it with the
Oh yeah.
season pass because the season pass for Witcher 3 is like the best value you can get out of a season pass. You got
Oh yeah.
one expansion was basically an entire game with a new map.
And it's not only an entire game, but it's a sequel.
It's oh
Like
yeah,
it continues the story. It's so good.
and the first DLC to do was like this small, like they added like area to the main map, and
Hmm.
it was just like small story, intimate story. It just worked. It was such a good story
Yeah.
with the dude that you met apparently in the beginning of the game originally. Like, oh, you're
Hmm.
here. What's going on? It was a very good story, and
Yeah.
oh god damn it, and it just
And it was, and even then, it was like 10 hours, 12 hours of story, and 25 hours if you're doing all the content in the DLC. So it was an amazing deal.
And for me, like look at that, because that game is, for all intents and purposes, CRPG in many ways. It plays
Yeah.
kind of like an actually CRPG, if you will.
Mhm.
It plays kind of like that, and I feel like that's what they've always been known to do. And then suddenly now they switch genres entirely. They're
Mhm.
gonna go first person, guns blazing, action adventure, even though it was originally an RPG, and then like before release they're like, oh no, it's an action adventure game. It's like, what? You told us it's gonna be an RPG.
Mhm.
I feel like one day we're gonna get the full story behind what went wrong with that game, but it's not now. Like now's not the time we're gonna get that story. Like I believe there are more things we don't know about the
Yeah,
behind the
for
scenes
sure.
stuff behind this game, and
Like
it's kind of sad and say, yeah,
my feeling is that sometime during the summer of last year, um, the management said we're releasing by the end of the year. So adjust. And I think they adjusted how the game plays. They adjusted some of the mechanics. They adjusted, um, even a lot of the parametric RPG stuff to make a game that could ship, even though it was completely broken. Um, it's just not feature complete. It felt.
and you're right, it's not.
Yeah. That being said, um, jumping into our actual review of the game as it
We're just
is.
angry, like what happened? But we like the game. That's the thing. We
Yeah,
like the game.
that being said, we like the game, which is like to some extent it's even more disappointing because like to me, I
Yeah.
told you this before. For me, this game is another Phantom Pain. We've already mentioned it. Because it is unfinished. But what is there, I like so much, and I feel like if
Mm.
this game had been in the oven for a year longer and they released it, um, I would be like, oh, this is one of my favorite games ever. Because like the stuff that is good about it, I absolutely adore. And I wish the whole game was that polished and finished, you know? Uh, but we're gonna forget about all that, I think, and just review what the game is and our experience with the game as it is, despite, the obvious launch problems.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna start with you, and before we jump into like a full spoiler cast, just give me some basic impressions of the game as it is. What's your basic review? What you like about it?
Um, I feel like what I like it's straight vibes, dude. And I feel like that's the thing for me
Yes.
with this game. It's like if you like that like cyberpunky aesthetic with the
Hmm.
neon lights and shit, this is the game. Like this is a game for you, and you
Yeah.
will enjoy it. You will enjoy it despite the problems. I feel like that's
Hmm.
the thing. Like we like it despite the things. For me, it is really wow, cool neon, and I feel like that's an okay reason to like something, right? Like it looks
Oh yeah.
cool, and
Yeah.
for me at least, because I played like you said, I played on the PC, so I played like with ray tracing and all that, like all those bells and whistles, and for me that made like the experience so cool because I would like stop up and be like, oh, look at that. Look at that neon sign being reflected in that puddle. And I would do that so much. But we're just like, or when I'm driving my car and I see like the signs reflecting off of my car and I can tell it's like the actual thing. And it's very cool until you do something like, at one point I did this on stream. Like I streamed it a bit in the beginning. I remember Jackson was watching. Jackson
Hmm.
was watching us play, watching me play, and I was sneaking around, and then I grabbed someone in a chokehold, and I wanted to move them away, and I looked at, I looked in like a reflection of some glass,
Hmm.
and it was just like this person going like being choked, but my character wasn't there, so he was just like floating backwards being choked because the game doesn't render your character because in first person it basically just renders,
Yeah.
it renders your body but not your head, for example.
Hmm.
So I know like you can go in and turn it on to render you as well in the ray tracing and reflections. The problem is you'll be headless if we just render a body. And that's like so stupid. Like why would they do this?
That's
Uh,
crazy.
it's so stupid. But for me, yeah, it was like mostly like I feel like for me graphical showcase, and I actually like the characters. Like I feel like
Yeah.
this game has way more heart than you would think it would have. Like I feel like the
Hmm.
characters legitimately feel real, even though they are
Oh
they're
yeah.
overwritten, but it's kind of a point. of the like.
It,
It's that universe. I feel like
yeah.
that's a point you have to like kind of accept. Like it's this universe. People talk weird because this is a weird universe. People are
Mhm,
extremely rude because this is like the universe they're presenting. And for me, that's fine.
mhm.
Like this isn't the real world. Like it doesn't. These characters don't
Yeah.
have to act normal. For me, at least. Though some
Yeah.
of them, I will though say that some of the racial stuff sometimes gets a bit much.
Oh
With
yeah,
how, yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
it gets
Not
a
with the
bit much
main
sometimes.
characters,
No,
not
no,
with the actual characters that you talk to,
yeah,
no. But just the
the
random people in the
yeah.
streets and like the side characters that you only meet once, there's some pretty dumb stuff. And I get
Oh,
that,
and you can
to
wear a
some
hijab,
extent
so that's cool. I just want to say it. You can wear a hijab, so that's
that
pretty
is
cool.
cool.
Thank you, CDPR, for making me wear a military grade poly protective hijab. Okay, let's go.
Hey, look, if it protects you, why not?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, for me personally, it's the story. I like the characters a lot. I think the writing is great. Honestly, yeah, it is. Sometimes it's a little on the nose and grating because it's an over the top on the nose grating universe.
Yeah.
It completely fits the universe for me. I really like the characters that you meet. Even the characters that I hate them
Mm.
because they are written in a way that makes me hate them, and not because just oh this character's bad, it's not good. Um, I enjoyed the story quite a lot. I'm a fan of Keanu Reeves being insane, and this
This
game
movie.
gave me all the Keanu Reeves being insane that I could have possibly wanted. Um, yeah, and gameplay wise, also, it's like to some extent, I agree with you that it should have been there should have been more difference in playstyle depending on the RPG path that you chose. But
Mm.
if you take it as an action adventure game with some RPG elements, the gameplay I think is pretty good. Like I don't think most open world games where you shoot people are necessarily better gameplay wise. I think the stealth is pretty good. I think all of the hacking mechanics are quite fun for me. So I did do a hacking and stealth
Mm.
build. So in that extent, I think the game actually allowed me to have a playstyle that I wanted and not be super actiony all the time. Um, I haven't played it with a a body build or whatever, so yeah, I don't know how it is. The melee combat is fucking ass. It sucks. It's just bad. I'm sorry.
Ratatatatata.
No, no, it's bad. It's just not good. But just overall, I enjoy being in this world so much, regardless of what I'm doing. I think some of the side jobs surprised me so much with the stuff that they were going into, and it made me feel like I wish there was more of it. Like if you know me, you know that most games for me, I'm like, oh, I wish this was like 15 hours shorter. This game, I wish there was 20 hours more of story and
Because yeah,
side jobs with the main characters. Like,
uh,
because I enjoyed being in it so much, and I enjoyed the characters that I got to meet so much and their stories, and yeah, I just had a great experience in this game,
and I feel like
taking
for
it for
me,
what it is.
I feel like at least as well, like the side jobs are where the story really shines, though.
Oh,
Because the main
side jobs
story
are
is
fantastic.
good, but when you do the side jobs, that's like, oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
this is this is CDPR. Like you remember, oh yeah,
oh yeah.
that's why some of the stuff in Witcher 3 worked so good. I will
Mhm.
also say that again, this is one of those games where you can tell like it's like in general in games, I believe like I think it was DJ who brought it up like months ago. Actually, I just like it stuck. Yeah, it's stuck with me. But he said something like you can really tell sometimes in video games that have like side missions and stuff that the writing can very like it can vary a lot because
Mhm.
it's not the same writer, and you kind of forget that like it's multiple
Yeah,
writers telling multiple stories in that same sandbox, and this is very telling in this game because some side jobs have stories where you're like, okay, what was that? And some of it, like, there's the one with the taxi driver. We're gonna get into
mhm.
like full details of it,
Yeah,
but like the Delamain company, that's like one of my favorite. What a
mhm.
crazy trip that was, or
Yeah.
the fucking what's it called? The vending machine one is also a very funny one,
Oh yeah.
which gets. has a pretty dark turn as well, and like there's some
Mhm.
cool stuff here. And
The
for
one with the pop star who is actually Elon Musk's wife
oh
in the
Grimes,
game. Yeah.
oh, this is so sad that Grimes just turned into Elon Musk's wife.
Sorry, I don't listen to her music. I just remember her for that.
Oh.
But it's like, but the quest is good. Like her
Yeah,
quest
yeah,
in the game
is
is
yeah,
crazy, but it's great. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I,
yes.
I think just I think we talked a bit about just our general impressions, but I just wanted to get into even before we go into the story stuff. I
Mm.
think I wanted to go into the gameplay
Okay,
because
let's do that.
as I agree with you that the RPG systems should have been deeper and should have had more variety. I do still think that the game overall, structurally in gameplay and how the quests are structured, is pretty good. Like I felt that the combat overall was good. Like the first person combat for a game that is not like a linear first person shooter. I thought the shooting was pretty good. Again, the hacking and the stealth was good. The melee was, again, I will not stop saying this. The melee is fucking. I hate it. Um, and I wanted to ask you. I was just curious what your playstyle was in the game. Like for me, I did a build that was full intelligence and cool. Which, if you don't know the game, intelligence is the stat that you need for hacking, and cool is the stat that you need for stealth, pretty much. Um, and then I had a bit of reflexes later when I had it maxed out. So I played the whole game completely stealthy anytime I could. Um, and I
It's
think that's the only side of the game that lets you go into kind of RPG mechanics, the hacking and stealth. Everything else is kind of like, oh, this is just a first person shooter.
so it's funny how I kept saying, "Oh, I hate the melee," and I agree the melee isn't good in this game. But I played a melee build.
Why?
Because I was looking like on the cool. There was this like swordsman thingy. I was like, oh, that's so cool. I can be like a cyber ninja. Let's go. So I was like an intelligent hacking cyber ninja thing, and that's how like kind of how I played the game. Even though like I
Mm,
barely used my sword because I was like I used my sword and I used like a silenced pistol
mhm.
which I used to like shoot people with, obviously.
Yeah.
And I use the monowire in my arms to like do
Mhm,
quick shit. And for me, at least, like as soon as you start like getting upgrades with the from the Ripperdoc, and the Ripperdoc is like the dude who augments your body, and it's
mhm.
very sad that the only thing that actually changes looks wise is your arms. So if
Yeah,
you
it
change
doesn't
the
really do
arm thing, it
much.
does something else. Like if you have the gorilla arms, which is like big punchy arms, your hands look completely different. They're like mechanical. Or if you do the what's it called, the mantis blade, then you
The
have
mantis
like
blades.
blades
Yeah.
inside your arms, and there's some like cool stuff there. And I kind of wish they did more, but like from a gameplay perspective, you can get like a double jump, and you can
Yeah.
make it so whenever you dodge, you slow down time. And suddenly, I was like playing the game where I would go in, hack, and upgrade my hack enough so that when I hacked someone, I would hack them to like, I would hack one, make them go this thing called cyberpsychosis, where they just like go insane and start shooting people. I would do that. I hack someone else with like a damage over time thing, and they would run in, headshot, and do like the switcheroo with the slow motion switch to the mono wire and just like start hacking people with that. Like for me, whenever the game does that and gives you the freedom to actually play it like you want, that's when the game
Mhm.
was good. But it did start out like very stealthily to begin with. But then I
Yeah.
just like started going more like the action route as I was playing because I realized I could do so much cool shit. However, when I did play, like I did sometimes when I play stealth games, I try to not kill people at all and not even use my guns. Like
Mm.
so that was actually the way I played it a lot, where I would just like try, okay, can I sneak in and do the mission objective without actually interacting with anyone? And a lot of
Mhm.
times you can. I feel like that's one thing the game needs to get credit for. It's like it has level design in an open world game. Because
Oh
like
yeah.
one of the first side gigs you get is like there's this police lady and apparently the rest of the police is corrupt, so they're after her and you have to help her get out because she's like the only good cop left in Night City apparently.
Mhm.
And one of the ways you can help her is by sorry, not one of the you have to reach her. And there are like multiple paths the game gives you. You can go talk to people, figure out where she is, but if you know where she is, you can either like jump through the fucking
Win. Yeah.
the window and get in there, or you can try and use your tech skill if you're technical and like crack open the door that way. And the game does that like a lot of times actually, where it gives you like ways to encounter, and it plays kind of. I've said this to you before. It plays like a very bad version of Dishonored almost. Like it's almost Dishonored, but not quite.
It's
Like
I wouldn't even say it's bad. I just think
oh,
it's
bad with air
Dishonored.
quotes though.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean it I think it's just Dishonored if it was fully open world. If you know, I think the level design for an open world game of the different outposts and the different encounters that you do is very good.
Mm.
But obviously, it can't be as complex and detailed as a Dishonored game would be because Dishonored is built in levels, so it's not
Yeah.
it doesn't have this giant world that they have to deal with. But I agree with you. Like a lot of the side missions and gigs and all that other stuff you can tackle in a variety of ways. You can sneak in different ways. Like if you can do a sneaky character that also is really strong physically, and then you're able to open doors just with your bare hands.
Which is
But
such a
if
great
you're
animation, by the way. When
the animation is
yeah,
so
when
cool,
with
yeah,
the
it's
steam
fantastic.
and oh, it's so cool.
Yeah, it like you can see your fingers being pulled apart and the tech actually breaking apart the door. It's really cool animation. Um, but if you don't have that, like I didn't have that, I didn't level up body at all. I only leveled it up to do a side job that needed it,
Mm.
which is the vending machine side job actually. Um, but I had hacking, so with hacking I could open that door, or I could turn off all the cameras so I could sneak in more easily. There's a variety of different things that you could do in that sense, and I think that's where the game shines gameplay wise
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Especially for me, like there's like this one main mission where even the main mission is you scour. It almost felt like a Phantom Pain mission. It's like, oh, you have to
Yes,
scour. You know which one I'm talking about. We have
I
to
do.
enter like
How
this
can we not?
compound, and you're like, oh, looking. Oh, okay. So you. Oh, so you know this guy, and you can do this and that, and that's like one of the. So the game has those three life paths you choose in the beginning. You have
Mhm.
to. Are you a nomad, a corpo, or a street kid? In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter at all which one you choose.
Almost at
It
all.
almost at all, but that's like one of the few missions that actually uses it. Because I know you played corporal, right?
Yes.
And I did too. Because we were corporal, we knew like the lingo to use. So it's like,
Hmm.
oh, I can just go like pretend to be this person because I know this person. I know how to behave, and then you
Hmm.
can like skip almost like an entire level because
Yeah.
you're corporal. You can do something like it felt like an RPG for once, and I feel like that's something I wish the game had more of, though. Like you doing choices and playing a game like Disco Elysium, which is probably my
Yeah.
game of the year so far. Honestly, is Disco Elysium. I kind of wish more games like I know like it's probably more simple, like simple again in air quotes. I'm not gonna pretend it's simple to make Disco Elysium.
Hmm.
But this game takes place in this like small area with like a few characters. Like there aren't like
Yeah.
that many characters in that game. Uh, but I feel like that level of I feel like every choice I made in that game mattered.
Hmm.
Instead, in this game, most of your choices like what flavor do you want to say things in? Like, do you want to say
Yeah.
Hugo, help me, or can I please get some help, Hugo? Like sometimes it's really like that's the difference between your
It
choices.
it's
It's the
more about
inflection of tone
how
sometimes.
your yeah, it's more about how your character feels than what the actual game is gonna do.
Yeah,
Like there are a few relevant choices, particularly at the end, and with some characters that can that that in the side jobs as well with some characters that can lead to different outcomes. But
yeah.
overall, like the game is relatively linear
Ah,
story wise. So
and I kind of wish it was more like the end, where
yeah,
like because even in the grand choices you choose by the end, even in those choices there are multiple choices to
yeah,
be made. But I guess when you're nearing the end, you can do whatever because it doesn't have to like tie back to anything. Because like yeah, you're ending the game,
yeah.
might as well do whatever you want.
It's
I
like
wish they did more.
I think what they could have done is have multiple points within the game where you do have those more pivotal choices. Like
Mm.
even if it was like I don't know act breaks, and there was like four acts, and at the end of every act there is a quite different thing, and the next like few main missions are completely different depending on which choice you
Yeah,
make on that.
and they already did that
It doesn't
before,
have to
and
be
they did that
Witcher
in
3.
Witcher 3.
Yeah,
Blood
absolutely.
and Wine. I remember Blood and Wine specifically because I did some choices, and I was this fucking. The game turned into a horror game. I was in a vampire. Then I don't know what was going on. I watched Joe play the same, like go through the game, and her game was completely different. She was in a fairy tale world, and what's her name? Thumbelisa, whatever. The small girl. That's the
Yeah,
girl
yeah,
that turned small. Yeah, she was there, and I was like, and Geralt stepped on her by mistake, I think, and killed her. And I was like,
yeah.
Joe, I've not seen any. Is this a side quest I've missed? And she's like, no, I'm doing the main mission. Like, this is the main mission. I've not seen this. For me, that was
Yeah.
like such a cool moment. It felt like, okay, my choices matter. That's what's so cool about Witcher. Your choices matter here. Your choices
It
sometimes matter, but it's never like
a little
significant
bit.
like in Witcher. That's
And
the difference.
mostly I think in the side quests, to be honest. Like
Yes,
the relationships that you have with the characters can change quite a lot depending on what you do. Like you
especially
can
with
miss, even regardless of the romance options,
yeah.
which we'll get into in a minute, but you can miss side quests. Like if you don't act a certain way or don't do a certain thing, the next side quest with that character might not even start. So like I think that stuff is all pretty cool. It's just like in the main story, it's a pretty linear story, which again, it's just I wish the game was less linear in that sense, but the story that they
Hmm.
did present to me, I really liked.
It's very much
But
a
it's
hero
always,
story. Like it's cyberpunk,
oh
it's
yeah,
sci-fi, it's Keanu, it's everything you
it's
love.
Keanu, it's about what it means to be alive. It's yeah, it's my shit,
Did you
and it's
do
like
did
yes,
you
what
do male or female V? Female,
I
right?
did female V,
Yes.
I did female V,
Have
and
you tried listening to male V?
I have, and I was like, oh god, I'm so glad that I did female V
Yes.
because the
I
dude
feel like
sounds boring
a
as
lot of
fuck.
people I've talked to, it seems like also there's like this thing where people who played female V seem to like the game more than people who played male V, and I think V as a character, like it's your character, your V,
Yeah,
and playing female V maybe makes the game better, just because
yeah,
like the writing doesn't come off as, because like the writing sometimes we talk about can be a bit like crass, it can be a bit in your
mhm,
face and maybe a bit too itchy. And this dude's
yeah.
voice, he sounds like a bored edge lord almost, like the male V. While the female V is way more of like, she has way more depth to her voice, and I feel like that's what I enjoy about her. Especially because like female V, for those who don't even know, like the voice actress, she has so much range. She was Makoto in Persona 5, which is like pretty cool. So for me, I was
Yeah,
like so surprised when I found out that, like, oh, I know this voice actress. Male V,
she's honestly, I thought her voice acting was fantastic throughout the.
especially
Like
whenever
there are
she's
some
stressed.
moments,
Yeah, when she's
yeah,
stressed
there
or
are some
distraught.
moments where she
Yeah.
has to, because normally her character, male or female, is a very self-assured character that within the world of cyberpunk she has to present as somebody who always knows what's going on, who's in charge of stuff, who knows how to get shit done. But whenever she has to be insecure or vulnerable at all,
Mm,
she's so good.
yes, and I think that's for me maybe why like the game, like one of the reasons why the game really clicked with me is because like I
Mm.
really believe this character as well, and that might be
Yeah,
like a reason why so many maybe come up like, oh, I did not enjoy that because of Mel V's voice
Melvin,
acting.
yeah. Like, and also like just on the basic line delivery, male V is more boring. And whenever there's a line that is a little over the top, he just sounds aggressive, while female V just sounds like confident. I think there's a difference between being aggressive and being confident, even within this. Like, obviously, it's the way she talks is
Mm.
over the top for our world, but within this world, to me, she always comes off as confident and
Yeah,
wanting to show strength because otherwise she'll get killed in this world. While with him, he just comes off like an asshole a lot of the time for me.
yeah, and this he sounds like a douchebag you don't want anything to do with. While
Yeah,
female V sounds like, as you said, self-assured, confident,
yeah,
strong
and especially
female
because like
character.
yeah, I mean she really is, and like a lot of the stories with the characters, like you build relationships with different characters in this game, and a lot of these stories have some emotional moments, and it's important that I care about who I'm playing in order to care about those emotional moments. And if I'm playing as some guy that sounds annoying, I'm not going to be as immersed and as emotionally involved in those side stories. So yeah, speaking of side stories, the game is structurally it's like your basic open world game. It's got it's got your main jobs, which is the
And
main missions or quests.
markers
Uh,
all over the map.
Markers all over the map. You've got your side jobs, which are side quests. I think it's a good distinction to know that on the map you'll see yellow for main jobs, side jobs, and gigs. Gigs are just kind of little one-off busy work thing for fixers, which are like people who organize little works for mercenaries in this world in Night City. But they're like one-off little jobs that you use to make money, but they don't really have a lot of narrative or anything too interesting going on. Side jobs, though, I thought had some of the best story moments and writing in the whole game, even more than the main story. I don't know. I think you said something to that extent as well.
Yeah, that like a lot of the good writing is actually in the side jobs more than it is in the
Yeah,
main game.
yeah,
Yes.
it's so good. Like you meet all of these characters that maybe you meet them once in the main story, but if you answer their phone calls and do all their side missions, you get to know them and you do several different quests with them. And what's really cool about that I really liked about this game is that completing all the side missions allows you to unlock different endings as well. And uh, there are romance options, and depending on your romance option, even the epilogues for the endings that are set are going to change depending
Mm.
if you had a romance with a character or you didn't have a romance with a character. Like, there's a lot of variety within those like four main endings that depends on which side quests and stuff you did.
Also, I want to say like even calling them romance is kind of a disservice to what they've done
Yes.
here. Because romance options for me, I think of a game like Persona. So you only play like a few hours of Persona 5,
Mm-hmm.
right? So here's how you romance in Persona, Hugo. You hang
Mm-hmm.
out with a person and you have to max it. You have like 10 levels of it's called like social link. And
Yeah.
you have to level up to 10 is maximum social link. So that means you're best friends. You and I, 10 social link.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
but so when romance, like when you reach romance
So
option,
are we gonna have sex now?
no, 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 no. There's no sex in
Oh, okay.
Persona. It's a sexless
Okay.
universe. You just hug and
Oh
say "I
no.
love you." But when you reach 9, you can choose to engage. Like if it's a female character, you can choose to engage. Like, do you want to like have a relationship with them? And
Mm,
it can be yes or no. Like it kind of tells like through the story and the dialogue choices. The thing is though, now you've leveled that relationship to level 10, right?
mm.
It never comes up again. That's what I mean by it's like it's a romance option, not a relationship. Because
Yeah.
now I have a girlfriend. I will never hang out with this woman ever again in the game because I don't have time. I need to level up the other social links. This game I felt like did relationship more than did romance options
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
both you and I we romanced Judy in the
Yes, because
game
she's
because
the
we
best.
yeah and we played female characters and she's gay and we love
Mm.
Judy. Judy like keeps texting you, for example. That was
Mhm.
like a thing I didn't even think about, but she was like sometimes she was like drunk text you. Just, oh, I'm out
She drunk
drinking with
texts
my
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
She drunk texts you, and she does like all this stuff where it just feels like okay, this is actually a relationship that's going on. It
Mhm.
feels like it's part of it. Where a lot of RPGs do this thing with relationships where they are just like romance options. They're more trophies to be conquered, and whoops, now you get like a steamy, Mass Effecty sex scene. It's like okay,
Mhm.
they will never address the fact that these two are in a relationship ever again. While this game, like you said,
Yeah,
in the
and
epilogue, it's a huge part of the fact that you're in a
yeah.
relationship. They play into it in a way that actually makes sense because, yeah, why don't more games like realize that relationships are more than just, oh, time to bang, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's the relationship. I banged,
And it's
okay?
like it's also the build up to being like the romance. At least I've actually seen two of them because River was into me and he was hitting on me
Yeah,
hard,
same.
and I had to friend zone him and it was really awkward.
Yeah.
So I guess I felt some of the awkwardness that women have to go through.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh,
Not
this is
really, but still.
hard.
This was like, oh shit, this is really awkward.
Yeah.
But it tells you how good, how well written the stuff is, because like the characters that you can romance, you have at least 5 or 6 side. You have a main mission, at least one main mission with them, usually more than one. Then you have several side missions that intersect with the main missions, and like they'll give you a phone call asking you, oh, if you phone them at a random moment in the game, and you'll be like, oh, actually, right now in my quest, my main story quest, which is like trying to get this biochip that's killing you out of your head, I'm doing this, and Judy will have something to say about
Hmm.
that. It feels organic in that way, and you have several missions to build a relationship with them. So even like I romanced Judy, but my character has a relationship with River. She has a relationship with Panam. She has a relationship with Rogue through Johnny. So like it
What?
feels
No
like you have.
carry? Well, fuck you, then.
No, I have Carrie. Yeah, of course,
Good.
Carrie as well. I forgot because I actually did Carrie's story after I got my ending,
Oh yeah, me
because I
too.
for some reason I unlocked it afterwards. So
Yeah,
yeah,
me
but
too. Me
you know what
too.
I mean. Um, so it all feels very organic in the way that you build relationships to them with these characters, and regardless of what ending you get, this will have an effect on it. And
Okay, just keep talking.
I'll just keep talking. I don't know what to say now because that was my final point, and I was going to move on to the next thing. Um, but yeah, just overall, I love these characters, and I honestly hope that we can get more of them with the DLC. We'll talk about DLC later, but it is my big hope that I get to hang out with these characters more. And I got to the end of the game, and I was kind of sad that I didn't get to hang out with these people. And that tells you something about how the game was written, because I rarely feel like that. Even though I am a story person, I'm usually more focused, oh, the main character and the plot and
Yeah.
whatever. This game made me care about characters as friends or people who I have a relationship with it more than I definitely more than I expected, and more than most games I've played. um what I was going to do now is, we've talked about your relationships, we talked about the romance options. We also, just shout out to the fact that the game has uh, good diversity in that sense. There's gay relationships. There's both for both sexes. There's you can have a bi character. There's a main one of the main side quests that has a trans character that it is just in the game and doesn't.
And
There's no
also
big deal made
voiced
out
by
of
a
it.
trans woman as
Voiced by
well,
a trans, yes,
which
voiced by
is
a trans
so
woman.
important. Bioware.
Which
Sorry,
is
go ahead.
essential, yeah, which is
Yeah.
something that not all games do, and that I think we need to give credit to it, because like we criticized it for some of the racial stuff, which is bad. There is some racial stuff that is a little. It feels like, uh,
It's
yeah, it feels
basically
like
that.
how cyberpunk as a genre was born in the 80s. That
Yeah,
representation feels like it comes from the 80s. Like there's the
exactly.
Japanese gang, and they all have like dragon tattoos, and they use katanas, and then there's the
Which
Haitian
is okay.
gang,
I
and they
want to
listen to
say, yeah, and they listen to ratatatatata.
they listen to reggae, and it's a
But
little
it's a little bit much, but at least they try to make them cool. Like I felt like when I met like the Japanese street gang with the katanas and the dragons,
oh
it's
yeah,
like, oh
they were
yeah,
like,
this
oh,
is a
these people are
stereotype,
amazing, these are so cool.
but they're so cool. And I don't know if like, am I a bad person for making this cool? Like when you met the
No, no,
Haitian
no.
gang, the
It's
Voodoo
like
Boys, I was like,
Voodoo Boys
oh
are the coolest.
yeah,
Like they
they.
are
Do you know the
the
history in
coolest.
the Cyberpunk universe though?
A little bit,
Because in
not
the
too much.
original Cyberpunk 2020, there were a bunch of white dudes called the Voodoo Boys. So
Oh God.
in the in-universe explanation, a bunch of Haitian immigrants immigrated to the U.S. and in Night City, and they basically just kicked the old Voodoo Boys out, and they became the Voodoo
They
Boys.
took
But
it over.
and they even said like we didn't pick that name. People call us
Mhm.
the Voodoo Boys.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was
Yeah,
like,
and
oh,
like
that's pretty cool.
again, it's always the surface level stuff that is bad. Like
Yeah.
whenever you have a mission that involves some of these groups, it it is much deeper and more well portrayed than it appears on the surface. But
Yes.
that being said, the surface level stuff does matter because, like, the average person that plays this game for 5 hours and then it's like, oh, I didn't like it, I'm going to play it, is only going to see the surface level stuff, and the
Yes.
surface level stuff is just not.
Yes.
It's
I
it
agree.
shouldn't.
Like I
It's
100%
just not
agree with
great.
it. Yes.
When you go into it, like the Voodoo Boys are they're these big Rasta black people with that listen to reggae, yes, but they're also like the
They're
best
super
hackers.
hackers. Yeah, they're
They're
the
super
best
hackers, and they
hackers.
are fighting Netwatch, which is like the hacking police of
Yeah.
Night City, and they're
Which
just
is such a
doing some
cool
crazy shit in cyberspace, and they're really cool. But you don't get to see that if you don't invest time in the game.
yeah.
So credit, and at the same time a little criticism, I think.
Yes. And yeah, totally agree. Uh
So again,
sorry.
I think we could move on to what our favorite.
Should
You
we
know what we didn't,
let's
you
move
know what we didn't
into
talk about.
what?
You know what we didn't talk about? The main story.
Ratatatatatatatata.
No, Johnny Silverhand.
Oh yeah, should we keep it
Fucking
like
Johnny
for
Silverhand.
should we
Silverhand.
keep it to main sorry, spoiler? Should we
Yeah,
just like move into spoilers now? I feel like
I think
we should
we
go to
are going to go into full spoilers. Yes,
yeah, because
we should.
like we've already been going for an hour, so let's just get into
Full
spoilers and
spoilers now.
really yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
so
do you want me to make a voice that says spoiler alert?
sure.
Okay, just a sec. So for those of you who don't know, I got this new album I can make voices, so I'm just doing stupid stuff. So bear with me. Okay, let's go.
Listen,
It's time for the spoiler alert. That was cool, no?
that was amazing. Very
Okay,
cyberpunky. Very
very
cyberpunk.
cyberpunky. Yeah. So
So the main story of this game, what basically you're this either corporation person or a nomad, which is like a Mad Max type character that lives
yeah,
in the
ish. Yeah,
outskirts of town and has a cool car that goes on dunes, or you're a street kid and you were born in town and you're kind of a lower class
yeah. You
character.
just returned home from Atlanta,
Yeah,
so you've
yeah,
been in Atlanta and you back.
yeah, and basically, regardless of what happens in the intros, which aren't that important, as you said, you end up being a merc in Night City, which is somebody who does jobs that are sometimes legal, sometimes illegal, and is just really trying to make money and become famous in Night City. Because I think
Yeah.
a big element of this world is having a big reputation.
Mm.
There's, is part of your goal initially, at least. Um, you're with your friend Jackie, who
What a guy. I
what a
like
guy.
Jackie.
I like Jackie. When Jackie dies, spoilers, I was sad. Like
Oh, we're in
it
full
hit
spoiler
me.
mode. Just
Yeah, hell
yeah.
yeah. It hit me more than I thought it would. Like from the trailers, they show all the bad stuff about Jackie, and they don't show that he's actually a well written, good character. He's a great friend, and as soon as he enters the game, it feels like your character has been friends with him for years, and you're just working together now.
The best way to like get introduced to Jackie though, because you meet Jackie in the intro of your life path, which is like this 20 to 15, like 15 minutes to 20 minutes introduction to like
Yeah,
the world before you like start the actual game. But yeah, and in the Nomad path is actually the only one. So in the Nomad path and in the Street Kid path, you meet Jackie for the first time. In the Corporal path, you
oh
kind of already know him actually.
yeah,
So in the
you're
Street
already
Kid path,
friends.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you played the other
I
introductions.
haven't actually. No, that's the only thing I
Okay,
haven't done in the game. I
so
should.
I'll tell you what happens. In the Street Kid version, you're out to like boost the car, and while you're doing that, Jackie is also there to boost that exact same car, and then you get into an police are there, and you're gonna fight and then you like get away from the police, and then like, oh yeah, we kind of fucked up, huh? What's your name? Oh, I'm Jackie. Oh, I'm V. Want to hang out? Sure. And basically, they become friends because they almost got caught by the police together, which is like a fun way of introducing them. And the Nomad path, you meet Jackie because you're smuggling something into Night City.
Mm,
You were one of the nomads, but you're not a nomad anymore. You've lost your nomad clan, and you're just like riding on your own, trying to make ends meet and trying to get a new life in Night City. Which is like a cool premise because when you meet Jackie, they kind of hate each other, V and Jackie in that one. You can tell that there's like a lot of animosity towards them, especially because when you found out that Jackie's plan was to steal your money and the cargo as soon as you enter Night City and fuck you over, but shenanigans ensue. They became friends, and then again the montage happens where it just like goes into the
Yeah,
main game. So yeah, I really like how they use Jackie in all three, and I feel like if you want more Jackie, play all three life paths because he's good. Like I like Jackie a lot, and
yeah.
I'm kind of
Same.
sad they killed him off, honestly.
Yeah, my thing is, when I was saying before, I wish this game was longer.
Yeah,
I told you this before, but for me, the life paths should have been 2-3 hours each, and then after each life path, basically, there's a big montage scene where for a year or so, you and Jackie start being
six
mercs
months.
in Night City. 6 months,
I
whatever it is.
believe it's 6 months.
I feel like that montage could have been 7-ish hours of story where you
Yes.
really build your relationship with Jackie. You become friends. You start getting into like even just content wise of the game. It would make sense for you to have some time where you're just free to roam and learn about the different types of side quests, the different gigs, the fixes, all that kind of stuff before the story really kicks into gear. And
Yeah.
then you would get to the Arasaka mission where you break into this giant corporation and you have to steal this biochip, and it all goes wrong, and Jackie at the end dies, and you end up with this biochip that contains the uploaded consciousness of Johnny Silverhand, which is a character from the original 2020 game.
Yeah.
um, and it's stuck in your head and it's killing you, and then the rest of the game happens where you're alone with Johnny stuck in your head, and basically you're trying to figure out a way to take the biochip out without dying.
Since we're
And
just
that's the
like
basic
in
premise.
since we're like just talking this way, is it okay if we just like jump around in the story and talk about bits and pieces we
Absolutely.
enjoy?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I love the Johnny Silverhand flashbacks where you play as Johnny
Oh
in
yeah,
the past.
that's so good.
Uh, they're very, very good. And for me, especially, the mission where you're like with Alt, and then like Alt, his girlfriend, Johnny's
Yeah,
girlfriend, and she gets kidnapped, and you have to go through a whole that whole mission, and then you go to the Arasaka building to find her. So like the second time you go into the Arasaka building in the flashback, we have to save Alt. That's a mission from the Cyberpunk 2020
yeah.
RPG.
Tabletop game. Yeah, I knew
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
it's like from
that's
the
amazing.
tabletop game. And for me, like that's so cool. I remember watching a fucking BDG video actually, and he was like, "Yeah, I think this mission is gonna be in the game based on what we've seen, but I'm not sure because the game takes place in 2077." I think it's so cool. He kind of figured it out based on some context clues. Like, yeah, this mission is gonna be there. And it's like they play a fucking concert, and then they go in and chart the place. Like, this is so stupid. I love it so much.
Everything,
Like it's so
everything
80s.
with Johnny Silverhand is just great. He's like this crazy anarchist edge lord, but in a charming way, and it comes off great because, like, honestly, like he's your friend. Like initially you hate each other, but then you learn to work together, and by the end of the game, he's your closest friend. And
Yeah.
that relationship that you build with him is so cool. And at the same time, there's always this part of my brain that says, "Oh, this is Keanu Reeves, and
Yeah.
he recorded and acted dozens of hours of stuff for this game,
Did
and
you
it's so
do
cool."
did you do the secret roller coaster thing?
Which one is
Okay.
that? Maybe
It's
not.
it's it's not on the map. So you have to go to
Oh
the
shit!
so you have to go to the fucking amusement park. I think it's in
Yes,
Pacifica
in
or something.
Pacifica. It's in Pacifica.
And
Yeah.
and you can go like and get it actually works, and then you and Johnny go on it.
Oh my god! I need to
And you
do
can look
that.
at it, and he just looks at you and smiles because he's having so much fun. And it's like one of those things where game developers. Personally, I really don't mind they're bringing Hollywood actors onto do this stuff because they're actors. That's like their jobs. I don't
Yeah.
think we should separate the actors from here or there.
Yeah.
It really shouldn't matter. That being said, I really love when they use like just like with Kojima and Death Stranding.
With Mads.
When you bring on a Hollywood actor that's like known for like doing a certain type of movie or whatever, and
Yeah.
then you're like, okay, now we gotta put you in a roller coaster, and then the player can look at you, and then you're having fun together. I
Yeah.
love it when developers just really are so excited to work with a celebrity. They just do dumb shit with them, and it feels
Yeah.
like it's not even part of. They just want to do dumb shit. That's how that felt like
Oh
with the
yeah,
Joe thing. Yeah, you should go to
there's so much
Pacifica
cool
and do
stuff.
that. Yeah.
I'm gonna do that. But like the side mission that you do with him, where you go to speak to this really old man who was into samurai, which was Johnny Silverhand's band 50 years before the events of the game, and he's just this really old dude dressed in
Yeah.
a samurai shirt and a jacket, and he wants to sell you a bootleg, no, an original vinyl of the
Yeah.
band, and he's like questioning you on stuff about the band to see if you're
And you're
actually a
like,
fan.
Johnny, help me.
Johnny, please help me. Yeah, it's
I don't know
so cool.
anything
And
about
like,
your band. Help me, Johnny.
and you're in this market, and Johnny's like, "Oh, right around this corner, there was this amazing club where we used to always play concerts, and people loved us here." And you go there, and it's like a sushi shop now.
Yeah.
It's
He's like, what happened? This is capitalism. He's like, this is
yeah,
cap.
he's like, "This is capital." Oh
What
yeah,
is
and
it?
he's a massive, like, super anti-capitalist
Yeah, he's an
dude.
anarchist. Like he's a
He's an
super
anarchist, like
anarchist.
full
He's like,
anarchist, and it's
yeah,
like it's fun. It's
yeah,
so much fun. Whenever something happens, he's just like, "Oh, the fucking corporal rats are fucking us over again."
yeah.
So
It's
good.
like, yeah, because he
But at the
used to be,
same time,
he
because
was a
like he's
soldier.
that guy.
Because that's also like one of the he was like an ex-soldier. That's why he's also wearing
Yeah,
duck tags
yeah.
throughout the
He's an
game.
ex-soldier who turned into this rock
Punk rock.
star,
Yeah,
punk rock star, but
fucking
also a
amazing.
revolutionary
What the fuck?
who in 2022 put a nuke into Arasaka Corporation, which is this
As
giant mega
how can I'm
corporation.
sorry, Hugo? I'm gonna go crazy now because how can what you're saying sounds like the most amazing thing
Yeah,
ever. How can anyone
I
go
don't
through
get it.
the journey and say like, yeah, this is bad? What are you talking? This is amazing. He's a
Yeah, no,
revolutionary
it's so
fucking
cool.
rock
Like story
soldier.
wise, it's so cool.
It's but it's like it's bonkers in all the right ways. And I think
Yeah,
that's the
and
thing
it's
for
like
me. And it works in universe though. It works in the like if this
yeah,
was again trying to be super realistic, yeah, this is a bad story. Let's be
yeah,
honest. It's
but it's
too
not
extreme.
trying to be realistic. It's crazy,
Yeah,
and it's supposed to be.
it's like what if that 80s future kept
Yeah,
going to today? That's the future
yeah,
that they're bringing in this game. They're trying to be very like very close to the original game at the tabletop,
hmm
and it shows in every like even the language they use, like chum and I'm gonna go kill some
yeah,
gonks out and
and
oh you
cream
oh
and
sh-
yeah, all that sort of stuff.
ah, don't make
The
me
eddies,
flatline. Yeah,
the
all of the
eddies.
all that slang is from the original tabletop
Yeah,
RPG. There's like a whole introduction to how to speak with like Night City slang, and
hmm
yeah, I mean, my chum Hugo knows how to, but like it's because he played the game. That's why he knows. But yeah, I mean,
yeah.
all those gonks listening to this don't know.
No, they have no idea. We should
Uh,
flatline them.
yeah, we should flatline them, man.
Steal their
They're
eddies.
missing out on this prime content.
Yeah, but like it
But
really
yeah,
makes you feel like you're part of that world. Like it builds, it's
exactly. Yeah,
good world building. And of course it's over the top and crazy, but it works in that context. More on Johnny though. It's all the side missions that you get later in the game with him, where you reconnect with some friends from that time, like you
oh,
convince
the
them at
samurai.
at
Oh my
yeah, the
god, dude.
samurai band
Yes,
and even
yes.
Rogue. All the side
Yeah,
quests is Rogue. Like he's this revolutionary guy, and at the same time, there's a quest in this game where you take a pill so he's in control of the body, even though it's your body, and he goes on this dinner on this like drive-through cinema date with Rogue, who's this old lady at this point. She's like 80 years
yeah,
old at this point, but she still looks amazing because like cyberpunk technology and augmentation and stuff. And for a moment they reconnect and they watch a stupid movie called Bushido 10, The Legend of the
yeah.
Samurai or whatever the fuck. And it's just all that side stuff is so good. And
Especially
at the
like,
same time,
sorry,
sorry,
yeah.
it's got the edgy over the top anarchist stuff. It's got the silly fun little side quests and at the same time it has heart. Like at the end of that quest, you have this 25-minute heart to heart with Johnny, and it's like it's good. It's like you feel for this guy at that
Johnny
point of the
really
game.
goes through like a whole character arc because in the beginning he's like one of the first things he's like, "Give me cigarettes. I need to smoke right
Yeah,
now." And you're like, "What's going on?" And he's threatening you. He's like, "Stick some iron in your mouth and pull the trigger." He's like, "Really? Like, just go fucking kill yourself. Who are you?"
yeah,
And then he realized, "Oh shit, wait, I'm in this body." What? And he goes from being this like super ass. Like I hated Johnny in the and that was like the point. I was like, I hate this fucking guy. To
Hmm.
you being like, hey Johnny, what do you think I should do? Johnny, like you're
Yeah.
dependent on Johnny. He's dependent on you as well, and you kind of start to understand like his point of view as well, because he really tried to stick it to the corporations and nothing
Hmm.
happened. And I feel like that's
Yeah.
the big takeaway. Also, is like you can keep fighting the good fight, but at the end, these corporations are like part of every single part of society. So at the end,
Hmm.
like, was it all
They're
for
just gonna
naught?
rebuild.
They're just gonna rebuy. Like you can inspire people to go. Like and he's a huge inspiration to many people, but that's all he is at that point. And that's what makes like he's a better old man. I feel like
Yeah.
that's such a cool take on this. Like ghosts that's living in your shell.
Hmm.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
No pun intended. Yeah.
So,
For and also like just real quick, there's like that mission that's so close to the end of the game
mm,
where they're sitting by the fridge and you find like his body, I
yeah.
believe. Yeah,
Oh my God.
which is
Yeah.
like such a sad moment, and then you can like have a heart to heart with him, and you're like, "What? Who do you think I am?" Could be
Hmm.
like, "Yeah, I think you're a good person. You're this, and that, Johnny. You're not just this megalomaniac, but just a friendly reminder. This dude nuked an entire building." And is certainly popular with people that have nothing to do with this. So maybe he's not super good, but in the context of the story, he's not actually a bad guy.
Hell yeah. Um. So yeah, all his stuff is great. I just love it.
And again, especially with V, and I feel like having a female V also, like him being it gives something extra. I think
Yeah.
the fact that he embodies this like female body. Also, at one point, if you give him the pills, he'll go on a bender in your body, and it's so
Oh
funny because they
yes.
wake up with a Johnny tattoo, and it made me
Yeah.
laugh. So, and I was so sad because
And
I
like
found out you,
during the bender,
yeah,
like you get flashes of what he's doing, and he's
yeah,
like just drinking and taking
yeah.
drugs and doing all sorts of crazy shit. And you meet this guy in a black coat who offers you like either a red or a blue
Yeah,
pill, and
yeah.
it's a Matrix reference. Like,
And then he just takes both pills. It's like,
yeah,
fuck it. And it's so funny. Oh my god, it's so funny. Like whenever the game is actually like fun, it does these like it's so good. Like that's the parts
yeah.
again when it's good. Cause yeah.
It's I think it manages to have massive tonal shifts that work. Like it goes from really dark and gritty to funny to heartwarming to like crazy over the top, and it all fits together somehow. So yeah. So okay, side story. We talked about a bit about the main story, and we're gonna get into the endings afterwards. But before we get to that, just who were your favorite characters to get to know, and what were some of your favorite side jobs that had, the ones that have story? We've mentioned a few already.
I think like the best character is probably Johnny though. Most because he has
Yes.
the most story. But if
Yeah.
we sideline him for a bit,
Hmm.
I think like Judy's side story where you go and swim in the like the part of the city that has been
Oh
what's it
yes.
called, submerged in water
Hmm.
was such a cool moment because you get to
And
learn
even
a lot
everything
about
leading up
her
to it, like
and
all the
everything
stuff with
leads up to it.
Evelyn, all the stuff with the brothel or
The
whatever, all
Panam
that stuff.
stuff is so good as well. The Carrie, oh my god, the Carrie missions,
Yeah.
who's like the old band member of Samurai, is so good and funny and also very sad because he's like this bitter
Yeah.
man who's like, oh, these fucking Japanese K-pop artists, J-pop artists, they made a cover of my song and I don't like it. We're gonna kill them. It's like, what? Dude, chill. And then they become best friends because they're like, oh, we like your music, Carrie.
And they
You're
go
an
on tour together.
yeah, and they go towards it, and then you have to take a selfie with them. And it's like,
God, it's yeah.
it's very difficult for me to pinpoint one character, but I will say one moment for me that kind of stood out
Mm.
was when you go to the brothel, when you have to figure out what happened to Evelyn. I feel like
Yeah.
Evelyn's story, like, it's so sad and so fucked
Oh
up.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that got to me. Like, Evelyn's story really got to me. And for me, it's that point where you're in the brothel and you talk to the lady with the cool blue hair and all that,
Mhm.
and then you meet like the sex worker, which what is it called? Doll, Joy
I can't
Toy.
remember.
They have a name for them
A
in the
Joy Toy.
universe.
Yeah, oh, Joy
Joy
Toy.
Toy,
Yeah.
and you're talking to her, and then she knows everything about you because apparently you have to like log in your information,
Yeah.
so they learn everything. And it's this very cool scene where you have where I made my safe word to be samurai just because it's cool.
Yeah,
And you have this heart to heart with the joy toy. And at one point, like where they're laying down, it got so intense that I could continue the conversation and I just couldn't anymore because it felt so like I felt like I was peeping into a character I wasn't supposed to know so
yeah.
much about. And I was like, okay, samurai, I can't do this anymore. That's like one of the moments where the writing was most effective for me, at least, because
Hmm.
I really felt like, oh shit,
And then
I'm
as
at
soon
this
as you
like
say the safe word,
it
she turns
cuts,
back into a normal
she,
person.
and yeah, the background changes. It's like what a cool moment. Like that's like one of the coolest moment in the game. And one thing we haven't talked about that's important to like talk about here is the game is in first person all the way. Like you barely
Hmm.
see your character, which is funny because you spend so much time making a character and then you only see them in the menus and some
Yeah,
mirrors.
and I'm
And
still
the end,
spending hours
right?
like
Me
choosing
too.
the coolest
Me
clothes, by
too.
the way.
Me too.
So
You this like there's some part of us is like, no, I will not just wear the bitch skirt.
I do not
and
care about stats. I was like, oh, this shirt looks cool, so I'm gonna wear it. I don't give a shit.
but yeah, first person. But I do think like some of the cutscenes work a
Hmm.
lot because like that's one of those scenes that works because it's like she's in your face, she's looking directly into the camera, and that intensity is what makes that scene click for me and what makes that scene work. I feel like the Evelyn introductory scene is also so great because it's in first person. You walk up, you sit by the bar,
Yeah,
and the blocking of the scene is so good because Judy is there, but you don't know who she is, and she's
yeah,
just sitting there, and you speak, and then she moves, and then Evelyn was there the whole time, and it works because you're moving the camera around, looking, and she's like, okay, it's time for a drink, and she sits down. You look down at the drink, you want to drink the tequila or not, and it's like small nuts, like it adds nothing to the story, more so than it adds to the vibe. A lot of times this actually works very well. I want to say
yeah,
like the blocking in scenes and how characters behave in the scene. Like they walk to a window and they stand there, they look at you, and you know instantly like you're almost playing out a role in a movie almost at some
yeah.
point.
You can choose whether to lean
I
also
still, of
against
course,
it or
and I kind of wish still that the game wasn't third person, just because I want to look at my character because you've spent so much time designing
I,
that cool character.
to
That
be
being said,
completely
sometimes
honest,
it's cool though, like how they actually framed the cutscenes around it being in
yeah.
first person. Yes.
As someone who prefers third person usually, especially for open world games, I actually really enjoyed the first person mode. I thought I was going to be annoyed by it because I have been annoyed in other games, such as I've talked about Skyrim not being one of my favorites. I've tried Fallout. I had similar feelings, and the first person camera was part of what I didn't like about those games. In this game, for some reason, I don't know if it's like because they actually do have some ideas, as you said, of blocking and how the scene is framed around it being first person, it really worked for me. It felt
Yeah, because
really immersive for
Fallout
this
is
world.
just like people talking. It's
Yeah,
just
it's just
talking
people
heads.
standing there and talking. And here, like, they
It's still
used it
people,
in a
but they
clever
used,
way.
yeah, exactly, because it's still like cutscenes. It's still like people leaning on railings, people walking to a specific point, saying
Yeah.
stuff, and like
Also,
you can.
the character animation and facial animations are pretty
Oh,
amazing
they
for
used a
a
new technology for this game. Like it's like the
yeah.
first time it's been used. So basically, they can even if you play the game in a different dub, actually, the lip sync is still perfectly matched because this technology like even knows which language you're speaking. And apparently CD Projekt, those ambitious motherfuckers, they were like,
Hmm.
oh, can we do this in a game where people speak multiple languages at the same time? So one of the reasons why Jackie he code switches a lot is because the lip sync knows when he goes to Spanish and then back to English, and it's perfect still. That's
Yeah.
actually one of the reasons I think there's a lot of code switching in the game in regards to language, or why like
Hmm.
some characters speak Japanese, because that technology automatically makes the lip sync and it knows the language and how to do like the inflection
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
where to put
And
the
like
tongue and all
the
that. And
fucking dubs, like the fact that you see the dubs in the original language, and because of the
oh, the
tech that you
subs you
have
mean?
installed, what? Sorry.
The subs you mean? The subtitles?
Yeah, the subtitles. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
I got it
yeah,
wrong. That you see them in the original language, but because of the tech that you have
yeah.
installed in your eyes, it slowly translates to
Yeah,
English, so you
it's
can
so
understand.
cool. It's
Shit is
so
so
cool.
cool, man.
Yeah. Also, another moment I want to shout out, and this is probably like again when I'm talking about like the first person camera being used in an effective way. The Noboru Arasaka murder scene
Oh
is,
my god.
and
Yeah.
that works because it's in first person. Because you're sitting there and you see this big cyborg come in, and this uh, fucking like almost like a future, like I'm talking about Takamura, this future samurai dude who just goes and
Yeah.
scans, and he's scanning where you are, and then he's like stop, and you can see he's looking at you. He doesn't know you're there, but he's looking at you, and you're like, we're gonna get caught. And you're looking at Jackie, and
Yeah.
you look up, and you look at Jack, and Jack is like, oh shit, Mira, we're gonna get caught now.
Yeah.
And then when he like grabs him and then pushes at the glass, and you just see the back of the head hit the glass, and it's like where you are. That's again like one of the moments where they understand, like, okay, this game is in first person. We have to make sure that we use first person in a way that makes sense in the storytelling.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's like again one of the moments where it works for me. First person camera.
Yeah. Uh,
What a
for me,
cool scene. And
just
the music, man. I'm sorry, and the music.
God, yeah, the music is
Yeah.
fucking amazing. The music, both like the songs that you hear on the radio, and like just the music.
Ratatatatatatatata.
Yeah, that one as well. And the music in combat and during the just the regular scenes and the
Yeah.
music and the ending where you go into cyberspace. That music that you hear there is so eerie and creepy, and it fits that vibe.
One
It's
of
so
my like for me, it actually sounds like it's the same composer as the Witcher series,
yeah,
and you can tell because sometimes I was like, if you switch out all the synthesizers from this track, this could be a Witcher track.
could be, could be.
Yeah,
Okay, oh, I will say one thing that I was kind of upset at the game. Like, it's a stupid thing, but
yeah,
you know how Siri in The Witcher 3, there's a quest or something where she
yeah,
says, "I've been to the I," while because she travels to different dimensions, and she says, "Oh, I actually been for a while in this future city," and it's an Easter egg to her
yeah.
going
So
to
Night
like
City.
Night City.
Yeah,
I wished you could meet her like for 2 minutes in the game. Like there was a side quest where you just meet this character from another dimension and you help her get back to her dimension or whatever.
yeah,
Something stupid like that.
yeah. Because the only Siri Easter egg there is like you can find this like video game
Yeah,
magazine that has Siri on
video
the
game
cover.
magazine that has The Witcher
Yeah,
3 and Siri on it.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it's like, okay, I guess Siri's not in
yeah,
the
that
game.
would have been cool.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
Music
But
wise,
whatever.
though, the ending themes, but like when the credits roll,
Oh
uh,
my god.
do do do, and it's
Yeah,
really cool because it's actually the intro music,
yeah,
but it's slowed down and it just works because the intro is so full of it. The intro music, like I would, whenever I start up the game, I would just like listen to the song, and then like, okay,
yeah.
now I can play the game because it's so good.
So
And the
good.
ending scene, I like how it's like this depressive version. Like the audience, like, yeah, we're gonna go in, we're gonna make some eddies, it's gonna be a blast, and then the end, like almost every single ending is super depressive in this game. Like you're just left with depression.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the ending, but for me, yeah, the side quests, uh, some of the best stuff in the game, and everything with Evelyn and Judy was fantastic. Takemura was a great character. Panam was a fantastic character. She's actually the one that I got the ending for.
Mm.
Uh, Rogue and all the stuff with the band was amazing. Delamain, we mentioned it. He's this AI that has
Oh
a
my god,
taxi
it's
company,
yeah,
and his side quest is basically that the AI system is evolving, and so his personality is splitting, and you meet all these different cabs that have their own separate personality,
yeah,
and
and they're like,
like one
yeah,
of them is GLaDOS from
yeah,
Portal
Portal
2,
for some reason.
and one of them is like suicidal, and you go to like to the edge, like he's on the edge of throwing himself off a cliff. He's a taxi, and you're just talking him out of suicide. Like all that shit is so amazing
Yeah,
to
it's
me.
so fun. The Delamain thing, how did that end for you? Like, because I accidentally
I
shot the thing. I was like, it was an accident, and Johnny was like, "Yeah, good," and all
I
the
decided to shoot the thing. Like I split his
yeah,
personality and let them be whatever. And then all the different personalities send you texts.
yeah,
Oh, I like I'm on a trip in Egypt, and they
yeah.
attach a photo of them in Egypt with the taxi cab.
It's like they're
It's
fucking
so
taxi cabs.
stupid.
Why are they messaging me? Oh, what an insane game! Like when it does things like that, that's when like that's the thing I always remember from this game. It's like when it does shit like that. Or
Yeah.
like the vending machine. Let's talk about the vending machine because you
The
meet this
vending
vending machine
machine.
and it's like, oh, there's this garbage in front of me. Can you push it out of the way? And you push it. It's like, oh, thank you. Now I have a nice view of the city. And then at one point, apparently, the company found out like this machine is actually alive. It's not
Yeah.
just like yeah, it's an AI now. And then they kill it.
Yeah. It's
And
fucking depressing.
it's so because he's like this nicest guy ever, and then you meet this woman, and she's like always visiting the vending machine because he's giving her relationship advice and actually listening to her problem because he's like the nicest character in all of Night City, and he gets killed for it because he's different. He's a
Yeah.
divergence. I was
And
like,
what about Ozob, the clown guy?
oh my god. And you sit in the car for the first time, and you look at him, and he has a grenade on his face. Like, what the fuck is that? Oh
So
my god,
crazy.
Ozap is so funny. Like it's such a funny concept for a character. Is Ozap.
Yeah.
What an and then you meet him in the boxing mini game later, or not mini game
Yeah.
quest line, which you streamed on
Yeah.
twitch.tv
I was
slash
doing it,
Hugo
and
Pinay.
if
So
you
please follow
punch him right
Hugo.
in the nose, his head explodes. Like
Yeah.
the grenade goes off and his head explodes, and that it's like, oh, that's the end of the boxing match. I'm in, I guess. And everybody
Yeah.
around, there's a crowd around it, and people start going, "What the fuck?"
Like, what are
It's
you doing? You
crazy.
killed him. It's like he had a grenade on his face.
That's not on me. She's like,
Yeah, that's not on me. Fucking Ozap, man.
Jesus.
I
Okay.
yeah. Sorry.
Just yeah, there's so many little things like this. There's that the side mission with the guy who's a criminal who's gonna die on the cross because he's converted
Oh.
to Christianity or whatever. There's so
It's
many
so
little
good
side
as well,
quests that are
especially
so
because
good.
like that's one of those where it gives you a lot of choices, and I like how the because that mission starts with some dude calling and be like, we gotta kill my my
Yeah,
wife's new boyfriend or something like. Okay, if you pay me
the
enough,
wife's
I guess.
killer, I think it was,
Yeah,
because he's
wife's
being
killer.
released. Whatever.
Oh yeah, and then yeah, and then you end up in no, I'm talking about the guy who calls you in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. And then they're like, okay, get in the car with us. The police like, get in the car. And then you're just talking to the criminal. He's like, okay, we're gonna go somewhere. Do you want to come with us? It's like, what is going on? We'll explain once we get there. And you find out like he's friends with the sister to the person who died, right? Isn't that how it goes or something? And
Or something. Yeah.
yeah,
One of the people who he killed.
and they're trying to like talk about like, okay, forgiveness. What is forgiveness? And okay, I'm a new man. I've changed. I can be a symbol of this change for the criminals, and that's it. And it just goes into this like philosophical debate, and you're like stuck there being okay. And it turns into like we were talking about how a lot of side quests kind of feed into the like the themes of the main quest, because then
Mhm.
you have this at a diner. I have this one-to-one talk with Johnny. He's like talk about what does it even mean to be like alive at this point, because is he alive, because he's a construct.
Mm.
Is and for me like that's again one of those moments that's so great, and then this moment got fucking undercut because this game is loud. Okay, I want to criticize the game for it's sometimes it's a bit too loud because there are ads and music all over the place, and I remember me and Johnny having this serious conversation and I just hear in the background organic. I was like, please, this was such a serious scene, and then come the other one with the moaning lady, Milfgard. With the
Yeah.
moaning lady, and she just starts moaning. I'm not gonna moan. And she just starts moaning. I'm like, I'm just trying to enjoy this heart to heart with Johnny game. What are you doing? What a loud game, dude. It's so
Yeah. It's
loud.
crazy, but I love it.
Oh, yeah, me too. It has its issues. Like, regardless, it's like one of those games I have a difficult time, like, I have a difficult time recommending this game because I think it
I
takes
don't.
but I do think like it's a certain person like us who likes this sort of stuff that will enjoy it. Because it seems like people who normally don't like this kind of sci-fi
Mm.
don't seem to
I
like this
just
game
think
as well.
I just
And
think
also
the
they
game
played Male
got.
V, so
I think the game got a lot of bad press, rightfully so. And
yes, rightfully so.
I think the writing, especially at the beginning, can feel a bit grating. And I think it
Yes,
takes some commitment to get into it. But once you
yes,
do, I think people who like video game stories and people who like sci-fi
yes,
will like this game. You just have
yeah,
to give it a fair shot because
Yes.
the problems that we highlighted and that a lot of people notice in this game are there. You
Yeah.
just have to push through a little bit and notice what is good about the game because the stuff that's good is so
Is
good.
very good. Like the
Yeah.
stuff that's good is very good.
Let's get to the endings.
Okay.
So there are four main endings. Uh, different. There are four epilogues, and I think
Well,
four
the
different
four,
paths.
yeah, because like there are paths inside the endings as well. So depending on
Yes,
what you chose, you
because
have to choose
like
another thing. Yeah.
you choose a path to get to the ending.
Yeah.
Like that is a couple of hours. It's quite a substantial mission.
Yeah, yeah, the ending
And
is long.
then after you've done the mission, you have a final choice that'll give you an epilogue after that. Um, I wanted to ask you just what did you do? Like, okay, let's set it up. First, you meet this Hanako Arasaka, who is the second daughter of the Arasaka family of the Arasaka Corporation, and she promises you that if you help me restabilize the power structure within my corporation, I will do some surgery on you and I will allow you to take the chip off so you don't die. That's the deal. Because you're dying during the game, as we said
Yeah.
before. And basically, you can choose either to listen to her and give in to her demands, or if you've done some side quests in the game with some specific characters, you can choose a different path and go in that direction. So the whole game, you're building up to this moment where you have found all the elements that you need to get rid of this chip. But in order to do that, you either have to trust Arasaka and let them do the surgery, or break into the Arasaka Corporation and basically hack into this mega computer where all the constructs, all the digitalized consciousness of people are being held, and use a program within that computer to essentially separate your consciousness from Johnny's and get back to your body. That's the basic setup. But
Yes.
within that, you can choose different directions to take. Which was your like for me personally, the way I play RPGs that have multiple endings, the first one I get, the first choice that I get is what I consider in my head my canon in
Oh,
ending.
yes. I feel like most
So
people will
then I
agree
play
with
all
you.
the other ones as
Yeah.
well, but for me the first one is canon.
Yeah, because
So
that's what you
which one
did
did
when you
you get?
went blind into it. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Uh,
that's when I'm role playing and I'm not just trying to complete the game.
yes. The one I chose was I chose to go with Hanako at the Arasaka company.
Mm, fuck.
Johnny got angry at me. He was like, I would
Yeah.
have nothing to do with you. Uh, and I went to like, yeah, so we went to the space station, and then it was this like fucking horrifying scene where they just kept doing experiments on me. There's like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things happen in between as well. We have to
Yeah.
go and you have to testify and say, yes, he killed Nobu Arasaka and all of that.
Yeah.
But, and they have to testify and they have to do all of this stuff. Yeah, and then the experiment started, and that part with the Rubik's cube, we have to solve it, and then
Oh
it
god.
just keeps going and keeps going, and I just kept getting more and more stressed. I was like, "Yes, I chose the worst thing I could have chosen here." Now, apparently, early in the game, Takemura died, and apparently you can
Mm-hmm.
save him, and if you save him, he will
Yeah.
be part of this ending. But yeah, I end up doing that, and then I was like, "What the fuck am I doing?" What the fuck am I doing? Like, this wasn't what I thought was gonna happen. Like, I thought I was just gonna win. But instead, no, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go into, I'm just gonna remember, okay, what was it that Johnny taught me? Johnny taught me, like, don't trust these fuckers. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
live out the last, like, half year or whatever it is, like, V has left of her life, uh, and just go through the, what's it called? I just go back to Earth.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended. Like I ended like, okay, I'm gonna die on my own terms then. I messed up and I didn't learn the lesson that Johnny was trying to teach me. So yes.
For me, the ending that I got was the Panam ending. I had become close friends with Panam
Oh,
because
I
I've
just want to
done
say the
all.
reason why I didn't choose the Pan Am ending, for example,
Mm,
was I didn't want her to die. I didn't
yeah.
feel like she should sacrifice herself to me.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I didn't want to involve Rogue because this was my body. And I don't
Yeah.
think Rogue should have been part of it either.
Hmm.
I do think like
I
the rogue
Yeah,
ending is the best, the coolest one though. I kind of like that one. I
it's
haven't
very
done the
cool.
Pan Am ending though, so spoiler away. That's like the
No
only one I
spoilers
haven't
then.
done because I
Um,
wanted to play as a
basic,
man and be in a relationship with her and then do the ending because I felt like,
yeah.
oh, it will give something extra. I don't know.
So the Pan Am ending, what happens is you build this relationship throughout the game, and then basically you're part of her clan of nomads, the Aldecaldos, as they're called. Um, and she tells you whatever I can do to help you, I will do. Like call me anytime, you're part of the clan. And so you decide, because in my head I agreed with Johnny that I shouldn't trust Arasaka,
Yeah,
but at the
you
same
shouldn't.
time
I was an idiot.
I did want to play as V for the ending. I didn't want to give up my body to him, even though I trusted him. Like I wasn't thinking he would do something bad, but I was thinking I do want to go out on by myself. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die on my own terms and try to do it by myself. So basically, with you go to the Aldecaldo camp, and with them you break into Arasaka using the old underground stations. Basically, you
Hmm.
assault this base that Arasaka has, steal this giant drill that drills underneath Night City, and you get to
Oh,
the old. Yeah,
that's
it's really
cool.
cool. It's a really cool mission. You use the tank as well. You know the tank that you steal with them. You pilot it in that mission, and you use it to fight against Militech. It's so
Oh,
cool.
that's
You have to
cool.
do it.
Yeah,
It's great. You get into Arasaka. You have to fight Adam Smasher again. You always do.
as always. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and you basically jack into Mikoshi, which is that mega computer that we were talking about, and then you're faced with the final decision. Panam, by the way, lives. The people who die are some of the side characters of the
I can imagine
uh,
it was like Saul,
Aldecaldos.
whatever his name is.
Yeah, Soul dies, and but the other guy, what's the other guy's name? I can't remember. But the guy I like, he survives. So whatever. Soul dies, but Soul is kind of an asshole. Um, to be honest. And basically, you at that point you break into Mikoshi, and you're faced with a decision. Like Alt has used Soul Killer, which is this app, this computer hack program to destroy Mikoshi, and you're faced with the decision to either let Johnny take your body, and if you do, he's going to survive because the body is more Johnny than it is V, so he's going to be able to survive, or go back to your body, and you're eventually probably going to die in 6 months. That's what she
Hmm.
tells you. Um, I chose to go back to my body, and the epilogue that you get is basically you join the Aldecaldos definitively, and Judy comes with you if I've romanced her. There's this really cool scene where she's round a corner, and I did not expect her to be in my epilogue. I thought, oh well, I'm leaving Night City, so she's gonna stay, and that's the end of the relationship. Actually, she comes with you, and the ending is you with Judy and all of the Aldecaldos basically breaking out of, there's a border wall that surrounds Night City,
Hmm.
breaking out of that wall and just leaving and just going somewhere else. And I think there's also some dialogue where the Aldecaldos say, "Oh, we have some contacts in this place." I can't remember exactly. I think they mention an American city, but I'm not sure. And like, we're gonna fight for it. You've got six months to live. We're gonna try to find a way to save you. And so,
Hmm.
like,
It
it's
is
the
like on a
most
hopeful
it's
note.
yeah, it's kind of the most hopeful ending, even though it's bittersweet because you're still like you're dying, and yeah, but still like Judy's with you, and you join this gang of cool Mad Max people, and you go off on another adventure, and so that's my favorite ending.
It's funny
Although
because
I
my
do think the
canon
endings
ending, which
where
is
you give the ending where you give Johnny your body is also really good.
oh, that's with the kid and when he's talking to the
Oh my
kid,
god, yeah,
it's
that's good.
so good.
And when you go to the cemetery and he's like, "Thank you, V. I have a second chance at life or
Oh
whatever,
my god.
thanks to you." Good.
For me though, like that like horrifying ending that I got,
Yeah.
it's still like my favorite, I think. And I feel like it was like the
Mm.
shock of it that I like. It was the shock of it and also like how it kind of cemented the whole theme of the game, which is like this rebellion against these like giant corporate,
Mm.
like you trying to trust them is basically the game said, have you been paying attention? Because I feel like that was what the game was saying. Have you been paying
Yeah,
attention? All of these characters you've met are willing to help because you've sacrificed your life for them. This is the least they can do for you, and they all like the other characters don't really have like a personal score with Arasaka, but Rogue does, for example. Like the going to Rogue makes total sense because he's like, yeah, yeah, I'm
it's
still not
yeah,
done with these people. I
yeah.
want to get there in there, and I want to like finish them.
Also, when you let Johnny have the body and the actress has to do a Keanu Reeves impression, and you hear both of their
Oh,
voices together, that
so good,
was I was like, oh, this is
so
amazing.
good. Like you
And
can tell
she
she's
does
yeah,
like she does the Keanu Reeves tone so
yeah,
well, but she's a woman, so it sounds like weird because it's
yeah.
juxtaposed with
Because
both voice.
she kind of talks like this, and she has like
She
this
just
slow.
slows down.
She's just slows down, and it sounds so because it sounds like she's just making fun of him actually,
Yeah,
but it works because you're like, oh yeah, this yeah.
amazing. It's so good.
I want you to talk about the worst ending in the game that you did on stream, which kind of broke me and you.
The worst ending in the game is like when you're faced with this big decision of who you want to ask to help. Oh, by the way, the Rogue ending where you give Johnny your body and him and Rogue break into Arasaka, and then again you're faced with the same decision on whether it's cool because it's as Johnny you can either give back the body to V or decide to
Mhm.
keep the body and V moves on to cyberspace. Um, and by the way, in cyberspace, I think the idea is that she will survive to some extent.
Yeah, she's gonna
Like,
be like alt, I
yeah,
think.
she's going to become an AI of sorts
Yeah.
or be joined with alt. It's unclear, but I think maybe we'll understand it more further down the line. But yeah, faced with this decision, with either trusting Arasaka, trusting Rogue, or asking for help from Panam, you can also decide to just shoot yourself. And if you do, it's like super depressing because like not only do you die, but you get an epilogue where you see people grieving over you. At all of the endings during the credits have these like voicemail messages from
Mm.
all of the characters that you've met within the game, and depending on what kind of a relationship you've built with them, the messages will be longer or shorter. And in the suicide ending, like Judy is just broken because you're the second person that she really cares about who committed suicide in the game within the span of the story of the game, which is a few weeks. Then Panam is incredibly angry at you, and like you get the scene where Mama Wells prays for you because you killed. It's like just absolutely heart shattering. Though to some extent, I thought it was a good ending as well because it's like I could see how regardless of what I do, people are going to die, and or I'm going to aid this giant corporation. Fuck it, I'm just going to shoot myself. Like it still kind of fits in the game. I think all of the endings, though different, do fit in the game, and I really like them. I think
Yes.
my favorite is still the one that I talked about at the beginning, just because it's the one that made sense for how I was playing my character.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why my favorite was also because it made
Yeah.
sense for her. Because at the end of the day, like she was still like skeptical of him,
Hmm.
of John, even though I loved him. So it
Hmm.
made sense. Uh, I feel like one of the endings I like the most is though the opposite one of the one you were talking about with Johnny, where
Mm. Oh yeah,
you
there's that one as
yeah
well.
yeah
Where you
with
keep
them.
the body.
Yes, and I feel like that ending for me is like it's so like over the top. It also makes sense in the context of the story. Like
Yeah.
V won, and she's like, I have nothing else in my life than this. I might as well continue. And
Yeah.
then it kind of
Fuck
ends
it.
on like this weird note where like, oh, DLC maybe? I don't know. I want to see what happens next. Like, I know it's not gonna be in DLC, whatever, but I was like, oh, I really want to know what happens after this point because this point
Yeah.
is pretty cool.
But yeah, all of the endings are kind
Also,
of
I'm
sad
trying to
and
be vague right now because Joe is sitting. I know she's like listening with headphones on,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
she walked in while I was talking about ending stuff, and she actually wants to play the game. But hey, we spot one
Uh,
ending out of like a million, so who
yeah, it's
cares?
fine.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, we'll see what happens, but I think overall the endings are quite good to a story that I thought was quite good. As final thoughts on the game, because I feel like we've talked about it
yeah. We
at
almost
length
had the
at this
2 hour
point.
mark now.
Well, yeah, but I love this game. I could talk about it for another hour if we just go through all the side jobs and cool stuff. Um, what do you think will happen now? Because like we CDPR has said that throughout the year they will be dropping kind of smaller but story focused DLC, and then
Mm.
next year we'll be getting big story expansions in the same way as paid expansions in the same way as Witcher 3. Which, by the way, I trust that they're going to be a decent amount of good story content because the Witcher 3 expansions were fucking amazing, as we said.
And they
So
were better than the main game, and they've
yeah, they were
learned.
so good because at that
I
point the game was so polished and they furthered what the game could be. And even like the fact that it was a shorter story allowed you to have more choices.
I think for
It's
me,
great.
at least, uh, what I want to see, like, I think the free DLC is gonna be the first step in really like the patches were like the first step to really mending this game and being like, no, we're committed because they've said they're committed to this game.
Oh yeah.
What I
Because
want to
also
see,
like despite all the backlash, the game
yeah.
sold like 14 million copies
Oh
already.
yes, 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 yes.
It's
So
like
they have the money to actually work, and there weren't as many refunds as one might have thought actually.
yeah.
But no, I want them like this is them trying to save their reputation. And we've seen that happen before with games that
Hmm.
turn it around by the end. Like look at Battlefront 2, for example. The backlash in Battlefront 2 was enormous, rightfully so.
Yeah.
And
Or even No Man's Sky.
well, that was my next point. No Man's
Yeah.
Sky, rightfully so. The backlash was insane to that game because they lied. They lied so much about what was gonna happen in the game, and then to switch it around. They actually fixed it and released the product that people wanted. The thing is, we already bought the game, so when it's like more fixed and has more concept, like we were there from the beginning. It's not gonna be like an issue. We don't have to go out and buy the game again. And be like, oh, is it worth it this
Hmm.
time? Um, what I really want is like they have to like fix their reputation. I feel like the patches is a good first step because the game is running better now. Like even on
Hmm.
PC, I can tell the game is running better. What
Hmm.
I want from them now is like more story content specifically, because
Yeah.
apparently the idea was that this was gonna be their GTA Online, and they were gonna do an online like game that takes
Hmm.
place in Night City, and that's canceled now apparently,
Yeah.
because they said like the
Which
whole team is
good.
focused. Yeah, good, good. Like don't
Okay. I don't
GTA
need that shit.
Online is the biggest for a reason. It's fucking GTA Online. You're not gonna
Yeah.
beat that. Focus on making story things because that's what CDPR are good at.
Yeah.
Focus on story missions. You know what works in this game. You know what doesn't work. You've seen people's reactions.
Hmm.
Use that feedback to make something cool. I feel like that's how I feel at least
I
about
completely
this.
agree. My question is, you know how Witcher 3, the especially the second expansion, was basically a sequel to the game because
Yeah.
like it kind of continues Geralt's story and it gives you a conclusion where you get the house at the end or whatever,
Oh,
and it's like,
and he looks in the cameras and be like, "It's been a fun ride."
yeah,
It's like, "Oh,
been cool. See
thanks,
you in the next
Geralt."
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if this game can do that because like all of the endings that we've just talked about are
Hmm.
so conclusive in one way or the
Yeah,
other.
I think all
And I
story
don't know.
DLC is gonna be right before you gotta meet Hanako at Embers.
You think so?
Yeah.
Because I what I want is expansions like The Witcher, and I don't know if they can figure out a cool way to do it based on how on which ending you got in your latest save file or
Here's one
whatever.
way you could do it. You make a new ending, and that ending, when you finish it,
Continues
it goes into DLC.
that
That's
like
one way I could think of, and that's like one way you can make an excuse for why Keanu isn't in the game anymore if they can bring him back, for example.
mm,
They're like, oh, you go through this ending, you save, but oh, now there's this different thing that V has to fix, and then you do that,
yeah.
and Johnny isn't there anymore. That's one way you could do it, I think. I'd really do that, yeah, because like Fallout kind of the Fallout 3 first like major expansion pack, also like that ending, you died at the end, and they changed it to like, oh no, you actually survived, and then this happens. So they
But
went
like,
in and
doesn't
changed the
that
ending to
undercut the original endings though to some extent?
yes,
That's what I'm
yes,
worried about.
it will, and
But like, it's like part of me thinks that they could figure out a way to make the endings, regardless of what ending you got, somehow like either if Johnny's in cyberspace, Alt and Johnny find a way to come back and help you fix your brain or whatever, and that's the
mm,
story of the DLC. Or if you've left with the Elder Caldos, same thing. Like you get a message from Night City, oh, like Alt figured out a way to keep Johnny alive and
Come
they want to
back.
help you, and you go back to Night City. Like you went to cyberspace. Now Johnny has the body, but you from cyberspace contact Johnny. Oh, there's a way that I can get my body back, and we can both this whatever it is.
Mm.
Like I would love for them to try to do that. Because I don't think this game is going to get a direct
But here's
sequel.
the thing I want to say about that though. Because
Mm,
what you're saying makes sense until you realize something. In order
mm.
for the story to move on, like you're saying it's gonna move on, you would have to go play the ending one more time. Because your save file
Yes,
is always before the ending.
for sure. But like
So
the thing is, the game where the game puts you back in the open world, it only takes an hour to pick
yeah,
whichever
but you
ending
wanna
you
go,
prefer.
but you're not gonna make the players go and finish the game one more time. I don't think so.
Hmm.
Unless they do something new. I don't think they're gonna make you go through the ending one more time.
Right.
Just one
Well,
more gig, Chew.
but that being said, if it's even just story stuff that is before the ending, I'm still down for it because everything that has been story related I really liked. So I'm excited for whatever. Like I want to be in this game, and I've run out of all of the content that it has, and
Now
so
it's time
whatever you give
to
me, I'm gonna play
time
it.
to mod the game.
Time to what?
Mod the game.
Yeah, yeah, on PS5 though.
Yeah,
Time to buy a PC to mod the game.
yeah, only for this game. Okay,
Okay, I think we've burnt the city. We've successfully nuked the mega corporations or whatever,
no more
and
Arasaka. Please drop no more Arasaka in the comment sections
no
wherever.
more Arasaka in the comment
Yeah.
sections.
Yes,
Islam. That
yes.
was episode 7 of the I'm So Tired podcast.
I'm so tired, man.
And if people want to watch us live, they can find us at twitch.tv/idbuy, which is Islam's Twitch channel.
Yes.
You can also search for IDBuy on YouTube if you want to see a video version of the podcast that we'll publish in a few days after, usually a day or two after we record. And you can find us on audio podcast apps, whatever podcast app you use, we're probably on it. Or you can find all the links at anchor.fm/ I'm so tired. And let me tell you, I am very tired tonight.
Yes, me too.
So, yeah, bye. We did it.
Say it with me, everyone.
I'm so
I'm so
tired.
tired.